Hey everyone, I'm Lisa Jordan, and welcome to MenoPositive,
I got a good feeling.
where we take a refreshingly positive approach to navigating menopause. If you're looking for practical tips, expert advice, and honest conversations, think of this as your personal pick and mix for how to optimize your body. Although we can't prevent menopause, we can redefine it. And that journey starts now. Hasn't the weather been amazing this month? I love autumn when the air turns crisp, the light softens, and the trees start showing off their colors. There's this one tree on my friend Emma's street that is turning from green to the most gorgeous red color. I can't stop staring at it when I walk down her street. It's magical. Actually, there is something magical about that in between moment. Not quite summer, not yet winter. A little reminder that change can be beautiful. The other morning, I took my dog Snoop for a walk and I found this one patch of sunlight in the park. I just stood there for a few minutes, like my eyes closed, my face tilted up towards the sun, feeling its warmth. It was like I was recharging my batteries and kind of kind of felt like medicine, which it turns out it kind of is. Did you know that doctors are now prescribing time in nature to patients as part of their treatment plans? Actual green prescriptions. Studies are showing that just 2 hours a week outdoors can boost mood, improve focus, lower stress, even increase empathy and connection. I mean, if that wasn't enough to get your steps in, it's pretty amazing when you think about it. Something so simple, so accessible to all of us, has the power to reset our nervous system and restore balance. So that's why today we're talking about natural ways to manage your menopause and how the wisdom of plants and holistic medicine can support you through perimenopause and beyond. My guest is Jenya Di Pierro, founder of Cloud 12 Wellness and Lifestyle Club in Notting Hill. She's a naturopath, herbalist, homeopath, and somatic hypnotherapist who left a 17-year career in quant finance to follow her passion for holistic health after seeing firsthand the healing power of nature. Jenya created her botanical pharmacy to help people transform their health using plant based science, intelligent nutrition, and functional medicine. Her pharmacy houses over 300 herbs from around the world, all used to create bespoke remedies that will support you with hormonal balance, digestion, immunity, vitality. Recognized for her outstanding contribution to natural medicine, Jenya specializes in women's health from fertility to menopause. Jenya, welcome to MenoPositive.
Thank you, Lisa. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's so nice to have you here. I wore botanicals, florals, just to be
Very
on theme.
beautiful. Mhm.
Well, you always have something nice on. Like every time I've met you once before, but you always look nice. I'm like, I really gotta bring it up a level now. So, Jenya, I love how you describe your work because you don't just treat symptoms, you look at the whole body. I want to start from the basics. How does herbalism and naturopathy approach menopause different from conventional medicine?
Yeah. So in naturopathy, and it doesn't need to be menopause, it can be, well, first of all, menopause is not a disease and not a diagnosis, it's just a transition. But there can be different health imbalances or wellness goals that you want to look into naturopathy and herbal medicine to support with. So for all of those, you would look, first of all, at the person, not at the diagnosis, not at the tests, but just at the person as a whole. And you will look at different pillars of health. So body has this amazing ability to heal itself. And all you need to do is to support the positive factors of health and to remove the negatives or to reduce them. So the positives are being good diets, herbs and supplements, stress management, sleep, rest, love, care, all of that plays an important role in keeping us in balance. And sometimes once you take care of those, then any symptom or any discomfort goes away because you providing your body with the best environment to heal itself. And then you reduce and work with the negative factors such as infections and toxins and stress and lack of sleep and lack of movement and loneliness and those types of factors that actually impair body's ability to heal itself. So that's the start. And then, of course, you look at various organs and systems. And again, you will go through all of them because everything is connected in the body, right? Gut is at the core of a lot of imbalances. So you'd never kind of have a consultation without discussing stools and
We
all
talk
other,
about poo a lot on this show,
yeah,
actually.
all of those details, right? And then you look for specific herbs and supplements and dietary tweaks that can also focus on a certain function or an organ to kind of dial up certain pathways to help with this self healing and enhance that process.
So it's not as simple as I'm coming into you because I have joint pain. You sit down with the person and you look at there's a broader discussion that's had. Walk us through. So I come into your office, and what's a consultation with you like?
Okay, so I always start with the physical body because that's what in front of us. That's what we actually can see, and all of the symptoms that are quite easy to interpret if you just look at certain pain or other types of discomfort. So we look at what organs or what kind of lifestyle or maybe dietary factors are responsible for those,
Is
right?
this like, sorry to interrupt, is this
Yeah.
like you'd see my skin, or is it like look at my
Yeah,
hair, or what do you see when
I'd
you look at the body?
Yeah, like I said, I'd ask you about your digestive function, about your stools. We'll go through all systems, your immunity, your overall vitality. I always have a score for stress, for energy, because energy is a very good indicator of vitality and the level of health for someone. Mood. We will talk about your diet to some extent. So we'll talk about all of these factors, including lifestyle, how active you are and what are your, mindfulness or stress reduction protocol, all of these. And where I see something that can be improved, then I'll make those overall recommendations. So dietary tweaks, lifestyle changes, all of those things that can reduce the ability of your body to heal itself. And I always prescribe herbal medicine as my first kind of modality to support the physical body and to some extent mental emotional before we go deeper into other causes because when it comes to chronic disease often trauma and even childhood trauma or emotional blocks can be responsible, so there's quite a bit of work to be done. But to go through all of that, you need to give resource, you need to give energy to the body. And that's what the herbs and good diet would do. That's why for me, it's always kind of physical body first, herbs and diet to give this kind of, to kickstart the recovery.
I love that idea, and it doesn't matter what anybody's coming in to see you for, whether they just can't, get rid of a cold, or whether they're coming in because they have, symptoms related to perimenopause and menopause. You're starting in that exact same place, and it sounds like it's definitely longer than a 10 or 15-minute GP consultation.
It is. It's at least a 90-minute conversation. And yes, with menopause as well, there's so many symptoms that people pin to menopause, or there can be other times in your life, pregnancy. Oh, I'm pregnant. That's why I'm feeling like this. It's actually not quite the case. We can have so many dysregulations in the body. So, for example, there can be the gut function that's responsible for your symptoms, or you need to manage stress, or there can be other causes, and so it's not always menopause. You might be able to tweak the diet, and then all of a sudden you don't even have hot flushes, or you don't have those symptoms.
And all of those things do play a role. I mean, that's when people talk about balance, right? It's kind of like getting the right nutrients in, having the right lifestyle practice, having that those stress management programs, whatever that may be for different people. But it's kind of a whole body recalibration, it sounds like.
It is, it is. So it does take time, but it doesn't need to be hard. So we go slow, and I never suggest more than 2, 3 protocols per couple of weeks. So normally, it's a 3 months program. If somebody's chronically ill or have something kind of serious that we need to work on, and we go little by little. We start with physical body, then we move to mental health and emotional health, and we kind of layer on those things, because also people can have a lot. They can have hormonal imbalance, they can have joint pain and so on. And you can't throw the whole pharmacy at them. The body will not cooperate. You'll need to identify the most important thing. And actually, sometimes it is kind of overall vitality and mood, because when people are depressed and they're in this low vibrational state, sometimes that's when the healing is very slow, and it's really difficult to facilitate any shifts.
Do you say you touched on 3 months, and I love what you're saying. I mean, whether you're a medical doctor or you're a herbalist, and not like so many people are saying we're gonna take this in steps, and I love what you said about, like, the body just won't cooperate if you try to throw everything at it. But in 3 months, do you start seeing change or the body starts to respond? Is that about how long it takes?
Yes, and there's no hard rule. Sometimes there's like a formula where we say, if you've been sick for 9 years, it will take 9 months to heal you, and so on. So there's no hard rule on that. Depends, of course, how long a person been sick. If they're ready for a change, mindset is really, really important. And when I see that that's problematic, that's where we start. You need to inspire the person. You need to give them a little bit of a glimpse of how good they can feel. And actually, herbs are pretty great at that, because they can give you this energy boost where somebody is like, oh, wow, I can get up in the morning and feel energized.
Let's talk about the stars of the show, because the stars of the show here are the herbs. Um, Before we jump in, though, you said something to me when we met that I found really fascinating, which was something like plants absorb nutrients from the earth to thrive, right? To grow. And that's exactly what they help us to do. So, for the people listening who may not be aware of or may be cynical of herbs or plant medicine, talk us through this concept.
Sure. So, first of all, for people who are cynical, herbal medicine is still used as a primary source of medicine by 80% of world population. And sure, this number's a little bit skewed because of India and China, but it's still true in so many cultures. And in fact, 25% of pharmaceutical drugs also derive from herbs. But they lose some of the ingredients that actually play an important role. So it's not exactly the herbal medicine.
Is that just so they can say there's a little bit of plant in there, or, or is
No, I think because I guess modern medicine is really focused on quick results. They look at an active ingredient, so the most important ingredient of the plant, and they kind of magnify it to get those quick results. But then, actually, when we run tests, we often find out that the whole plant can perform better than its just extract, because there are cofactors that might improve absorption, assimilation, and they do other things that we don't even comprehend yet. And so everything has been created by nature synergistically, and we actually need the whole plant to support us. And then, of course, when you sort of take an active ingredient out of context, it can start causing some side effects and things that are not as beneficial for us.
so another reason, and we'll talk about this too, why it's important to work with somebody who really knows what they're doing when it comes to the plants.
Exactly, and I think it's also important. It's always my approach, and my advice to everyone: you should always try a natural approach first before using drugs, because that's what's been given by nature to us to be well. That's what we've used for centuries. We talk clinical trials, but we have thousands of years of evidence of plants supporting human health. Well, actually, not just human health. I've been trying some of them on my dog as well.
Oh, have you?
It's not so easy to identify the symptoms.
Coming
but
soon.
yes. So we should always do that because plants are basically food. So they're understood by our body really well. And for this reason, they absorbed really well. While we actually know that we absorb very little of the pharmaceutical drugs, and a lot of them actually might have an opposite effect or don't have any effect because it's a chemical that is foreign to our body, right? So sometimes, and I was surprised in my career where, a person's been on steroids and I'll give them some herbal mix for psoriasis or some other skin condition, and all of a sudden, the symptoms start going away in a few days, while they're already on heavy duty drugs that are doing nothing. And that surprised me because I never expect plants to be as powerful, as pharmaceutical drugs. It's a gentler process, and in most cases, it is. But in some cases, because they absorb so well, and because obviously we develop dependency and some resistance to pharmaceuticals, sometimes they can also act really fast within days and turn around somebody's well-being completely.
You said something to me as well that, and I'm going to get this wrong, so you can clarify it. But when you take herbs as well, because they're again food, natural in the body, that they know where to go to in your body. It's not like, oh, I'm going to give you this thing for your shoulder or your stomach. For some reason, it kind of treats the whole body. I'm totally ruining this, but you said something. Can you explain that?
So perhaps we were talking about this class of amphoteric herbs, and adaptogens are in this category, for example. There are some other herbs that do that. And so what they do, they modulate. So they don't downregulate or upregulate. They actually give your body what it needs. So when it comes to adrenal function and, when we're stressed, we can be kind of tired and wired. So we can have either kind of overactive adrenals, or we can have adrenals that are completely on the floor. And with medication, you really need to know which way to go with that. But with adaptogens, they actually support the function, modulate it. So when they need, they downregulate, or when they need, they upregulate.
They're like intelligent.
They're super intelligent, and we don't always understand how this is possible. But it's an interesting story about adaptogens because they grow in the harshest climates on the planet, like in Siberia, in Northern Europe. So Vikings used them a lot, and they were used in China. And they would often grow kind of on the hill with harsh winds and cold temperatures, all of that. And they survive and thrive. And this is how humans figured out that they will be good for our vitality. So adaptogens build our resilience to stress, build our resilience to disease. They help our body adapt to all sorts of stressors. And the humans were observing them in nature in those harsh climates. And they kind of decided, they're quite resilient. Why don't I try it on my own body and see if it will make me as resilient?
And that's
And
exactly
that's yeah.
how that happened. Okay, you talked about adaptogens. So before we jump into the herbs and the symptoms, can you help us decode some of this terminology? Because I think, again, we're hearing phytoestrogen, adaptogen, nootropic. Oh, you had another word with an ick at the end. There's a lot of gens, there's a lot of icks, there's like all of these things. It can sound a bit clinical, but like you're saying, some of these are the most powerful tools in the holistic toolbox. So let's go with adaptogens, because you were talking about that. What is an adaptogen?
Okay, that term was actually coined in Soviet Russia, as scientists were looking for the ways to support athletes through the Olympics. again, to build resilience and so on. And adaptogens existed for centuries. Chinese emperors used to love them, and like I said, Vikings. But more sort of clinical trials and the term came in kind of 1960s, around that time. And so adaptogens essentially do what the term is indicating. They help us adapt to various stresses in life. And interestingly, it's not just kind of physical stress and disease and so on. It can be also mental, emotional stress. So they support our nervous system. So they give us a lot of vitality, a lot of energy, protection from infections, things like that. So they're one of the core herbal groups to consider for humans in general, but also, in menopause and in general when we age, when our vitality starts to decline. And another important characteristic of adaptogens is that the one we already discussed, that they modulate. So they're so gentle, and they don't really throw body in the overdrive, but they give you a little bit more when you need it, or they downregulate when you have too much
And
of.
for everybody listening as well, adaptogens are usually like everybody's talking about mushrooms, right? Like the healing. Like so is
Yeah.
ashwagandha, is
Yeah,
ginseng?
so there are different types of ginseng. There's Siberian ginseng, there's Korean ginseng. So they're slightly different species, but this is an adaptogen category. Mushrooms, a lot of mushrooms, reishi is an adaptogen. Ashwagandha is a root from India. It's an adaptogen. They can have slightly different characteristics. So there are strong adaptogens like rhodiola and Panax, which is Korean ginseng, that may be a little bit better for when you're completely depleted. So while they kind of modulate, there's a scale of the ones that are a little bit more appropriate for people who are completely exhausted, or for people who are really stressed. For example, ashwagandha is a go-to adaptogen, and then people studied adaptogens, done a lot of clinical trials, so they attach other characteristics. So, for example, ashwagandha is also good to support thyroid function and fertility and immune system. Astragalus is another important adaptogen from China. It has a lot of anti-cancer properties and liver support function. But I'd say most of adaptogens actually will protect you from cancer because they give you this kind of vitality.
But it's also the magic of coming to somebody like yourself. Like you said, it depends on how stressed you are. Like everything's on a scale, and it's part of your magic when you're putting together different tinctures and things for people is in what you choose.
Yeah, and if we bring Eastern medicine into the conversation, then it's really important to understand the energetics, because there are kind of more heat-driven states and cold-driven states. So it's actually important to understand the nature of herbs, which you won't always kind of find on Google. And actually, in menopause, it would be completely wrong to give heating adaptogens because they can exacerbate the symptoms, right? So you need to look for more kind of cooling ones. Or you need to combine them, because you often would create a formula addressing few different aspects of health. So you need to look at overall, is the formula too heating for this person, and is it appropriate for the energetic state?
Yeah. Now, what about phytoestrogens? Am I saying that word right?
Yeah, phytoestrogen.
Even my nutritionist, you need more phytoestrogens in your diet. Everybody needs more flaxseed. Um, okay, so what are phytoestrogens and how do they work?
Okay. So basically, phytoestrogens are estrogens that are derived from nature, right? So they can replenish some of the estrogen because they bind to estrogen receptors in the body. But that's another very, very clever group of herbs, because, again, they can upregulate or downregulate your estrogen levels. And that's extraordinary because sometimes we actually don't know where the levels are. So we assume that in our 40s, estrogen starts to gradually decline, but that's not strictly true. For many, many women, it starts creating havoc, almost like in puberty. That's why it's called often second puberty, where the levels can go up. And even when they're low, you can be in this estrogen dominant state when the liver is well, it has to do with liver function. Estrogen is metabolizing into kind of more toxic types. So while your estrogen levels might be low or normal, you're actually producing a lot of this toxic estrogen that needs to be cleared out. Otherwise, it's responsible for very uncomfortable symptoms and unwanted growth like endometriosis or fibroids and so on. And so what phytoestrogens do, because they're a weaker form of estrogen, our natural estrogen is more potent, they will bind to the receptors and they will kick out those toxic estrogen metabolites. So they will compete with them for those receptors. So when you have this condition called estrogen dominance, when this toxic estrogen is around, phytoestrogens will kind of come in and protect you and reduce the overall kind of estrogen excess. But of course, in menopause, when you have too little estrogen, they will come and bind to the receptors and they will play a role of replenishing estrogen in your body. So
Fascinating.
it's just so useful.
I think it's amazing though, because like I said, kind of from a diet perspective, people keep saying add these things into your diet, but I don't think everybody really understands why. So you just did a beautiful job explaining why.
Hope it wasn't too technical. But just to tell you about the diet, there are not that many estrogens in our diet, and we shouldn't be using them in massive amounts. Well, because a lot of phytoestrogen come from soy. I lived in Japan for a long time, and I was observing, the Japanese that never drink gallons of soy milk, and there'll be like a few cubes of tofu in miso soup and so on. And it is first of all a plant that can absorb, if it's not organic, some heavy metals like cadmium from the soil, so you need to be very careful and always go for organic sources. And then can affect your thyroid function. And then flax seeds are a good source of estrogen, but how much flax seeds can you consume? And then ground, not ground, all these things play a role. So for me, the best source of phytoestrogens is actually herbs like black cohosh, like vitex, sage from our region, red clover. What's great that can also be consumed in the form of tea, which is lovely. That's another thing I love about herbs, that you sometimes don't need to think about them as medication. You can just enjoy a nice cup of tea
We
or
talked
use it
about
in cooking.
I love that. We talked about food like as a prescription for
Yeah,
people, and that's lovely, like to have a cup of tea instead of always having to like pop a capsule.
exactly.
Because not everybody wants to do that either. Nootropics? Is that
Neurotropic. Yeah. So it can be both supplement and plant world. So these are class of herbs or class of nutrients that support brain function and focus and memory, and which is obviously also one of things that people bring up when they're transitioning to menopause. So in the herbal world, we'd look at things like Brahmi. That's the herb that Buddha used to meditate. And It's kind of sister herb called Centella asiatica or gotukola. I love that herb in general. Also as a beauty herb and anti-aging herb because it promotes collagen production.
okay? Say that one
So
again. Say that word again.
gotukola,
Go to color.
yes, or Centella asiatica in Latin.
Wow.
Also lovely in the form of tea. So I have a blend called Beauty,
I'm
which,
coming back
well,
for one
I
of
have
those
it in most
teas.
blends actually.
I'm coming back to Cloud 12 for one of
Yeah,
those teas.
it's quite lovely. Yeah, so actually, again, from our culture, rosemary, you can remember rosemary for memory. As always in the plant world, there's not just one function that a plant does. So rosemary is incredible for immune health. It's actually also good for those conditions of estrogen dominance. So it supports liver function and directs that estrogen metabolism towards healthier forms. Yeah, and it's a circulatory stimulant, so it does so many things. So while you're doing one thing, you're also supporting few other bodily functions.
Thank you for just taking time to talk through those because I think like we're seeing these words everywhere and they're almost used to sell stuff, right? Like I'm seeing it on chocolate, I see it in coffee, I see it in all these things. And I love the way you described it. They just feel like these like nature's little regulators that can come in. But that's also really helpful because everybody go, I need photoestrogens in my diet, but nobody knows what you're talking about. Let's jump on to symptoms if we
Sure.
can.
Yeah.
If I name a symptom, will you talk about maybe how you use plants or herbs to
Let's go for it.
treat that? Should we do that? Okay. I mean, you talked about hot and cold, hot flashes being the easy one. Well,
Yeah.
I'm not even, hot flashes aren't even the most common symptom in women, but let's talk about them first.
All right, let's do that. So, hot flashes are related to estrogen decline, right? So for that, phytoestrogens are great because, like I said, they replenish some of the lost estrogen. And then there are cooling herbs. So in kind of Western medicine, cooling herbs are often bitter herbs. Bitter herbs actually are amazing for liver function and is the healthiest taste of all tastes, even though it's the least pleasant by Western standards. But yeah, bitter characteristics are considered cooling. Of course, you can have raw foods and so on, but also anecdotally, women removing alcohol from their diet can be completely free from hot flashes. So, without even having any herbal interventions or other interventions, alcohol is not our friend during those couple of years when we're experiencing hot flashes and going through that hormonal shift because it obviously affects liver, and liver is the key organ for regulating hormones. It's heating. Well, there are a lot of pathways that are affected, and yeah, anecdotally, just staying alcohol free for a few years can help with hot flashes.
Really help. I second that actually. I just because I know how it's the liver is just not detoxifying it,
Yeah,
processing it in the same way it used to.
getting
Women are waking up going, "Oh, my hangovers are just really bad now."
yeah,
It's because it's not being
it's dealing with a lot of stuff.
yeah. I and the drinking is an interesting conversation because I've had it with personal trainers, I've had it with nutritionists because women are also feeling a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, so they tend to not everybody, but sometimes you tend to go for that glass of wine when you get home at night, and that's okay if you need it. But should we go there then? Like anxiety or stress, what kind of herbs or plants would we be looking at there?
Yeah, so of course it's also important to work with the cause of anxiety and cause of stress. And if we're talking menopause, it is linked to some extent to progesterone decline in the body. That's the first hormone that starts to drop. Um, it's actually can be a little bit similar to PMS, when progesterone drops post ovulation, and we have those symptoms of anxiety and low mood and all of that just before a period. It's kind of similar occurrence in perimenopause, menopause when it just gradually declines. And so, some women might opt for progesterone creams and so on, which is one solution. And I'd say bioidentical hormones bear less risk, and that's one route to take. But in my world, I would look at herbs that create this GABA-like, and actually they are linked to GABA production in the body. So herbs like passion flower, Californian poppy, some of the adaptogens like ashwagandha, they can be used to help, and skullcap is another one, to help calm anxiety, improve stress response. Sometimes, some herbs like St. John's wort would give a little bit of a mood boost. And also kind of working with the mindset, right? Because menopause has a negative connotation in our society, and it absolutely shouldn't be that way. Main traditional cultures, women were looking forward to menopause because that's when their social status increased and they became matriarchs, and they gained so much wisdom that the society was looking up to them. Right? We don't place a lot of value on that wisdom and experience. We place a lot of value on fertility and looking young and being young and skinny and all that. And so once the menopause hit, women think that is the end of, their life, so to speak. But if we look at some traditional societies, they don't even have some words for hot flashes and other symptoms. And then they look very, very differently at this transition. And this is one of the reasons they actually don't have uncomfortable symptoms of menopause.
Because of the mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there is research that shows that like the negative psychology around perimenopause or menopausal symptoms actually makes them worse.
Exactly.
I'm a huge believer in that. But sometimes you just, like you said, when people come to you, sometimes there's just too much going on and you need to kind of calm the nervous system and get to a place where then you can feel
Yeah.
better, feel
Yeah.
different.
And, also an important point is that body is not our enemy. It's never working against us. It's always working for us. So when it produces uncomfortable symptoms, it's trying to tell us something. It's giving us actually a clue on how to be healthier and feel better. And just one example of one of my patients who had frozen shoulder and a shoulder pain. And actually, the body was trying to tell her that she had too much on her shoulders. I mean, the case history was a little bit deeper and more complex than that. But one of the things that happened, she offloaded some responsibilities and other things, and the pain went away. And she's been on very strong anti-inflammatories, and nothing helped her for 2 years. So that was a case of body just telling her, "Hey, I've got a solution for you. You've become too stressed, you've become too busy, you're not living in the moment, you're not enjoying your life, and I'm going to produce that symptom to give you a clue how to heal yourself."
I mean, what a mindset shift. Like that so many times. I mean, I have it right now. I've got severe like pain, not severe pain. I've got some pain in my shoulder and my neck. I've been really busy this week. I've been carrying my laptop around with me. And all I keep thinking is like, oh God, like my back hurts or oh my shoulders hurt or oh, my neck hurts. But that's why it's so important for all of us. We're all rushing around so much, but we need to stop and just take a minute for ourselves every day and go, what's going on with me? Like if I then stopped and had taken a minute and gone, you know what? Why am I feeling this way? Why is this happening? And then going, oh, you know what? I think my body's actually sending me a message. You need to slow down. Or this weekend, you need to rest, Lisa. Like it's time for repair. We don't spend enough time doing that, do we? Like checking in with ourselves.
No, we don't. And sometimes we lose that intuition, right? Because we have all these phrases, boys don't cry, or at school you can't go to bathroom before the lessons or whatever. Different cultures have different things, but we grow up having all these constraints where there's so many things we can't do, and then all of a sudden we lose connection with our body, with being kind of intuitive, what it needs, what it wants. It becomes about what I have to do, what kind of goals do I have to perform in life, and so on. So building this intuition back and asking your body every day, what do you want to eat, what do you want to wear, why are you feeling that way, spending this quiet moment to actually listen to the message. Because sometimes
Absolutely.
it's not easy. When we're in a rat race, you don't hear your
No, but I
body.
I just love this thought of just saying, "Oh, that hurts. What is that telling me?" Instead of just going, we stop at, "Oh, that hurts," not at, "What is that telling me?" Sleep. I'm sure that's a
Mhm.
big one.
Yeah.
What kind of things would you prescribe for sleep?
So for me, actually, the most important is sleep hygiene and your circadian rhythm, right? Because the quality of sleep, actually, it's not just the length. We restore and recharge, and all of these wonderful things happen during deep sleep, right? And for many people, it's not even 1 hour. It's actually quite short. For those who wear Aura Ring, they would know. But I stopped that because it was making me less intuitive with my own body. But anyway, the quality of sleep is directly related to what you do before that. You know, over exercising in the evening, all of the stimulants like alcohol and so on, eating late, going to bed late, devices, watching stressful movies and things like that. So I'm a big proponent of the wind down ritual, whatever it might be for you. and going to bed between 10 and 11. That's when melatonin production starts to rise, and melatonin is our sleep hormone. It's also one of the most potent antioxidants in the body. So it's hugely anti-aging. I remember, if you know this actress, Sophie Loren, her basically, and she aged very beautifully and graciously. And so, and when they asked her about the reason, she said, well, I sleep 9 hours.
I sleep 9
Um,
hours. Hopefully, I'll look like her one day.
Not everyone has a luxury, right?
No.
But anyway, so and then melatonin production drops around 2 a.m. So if you go to bed around 12 and then it takes you a while to fall asleep and so on, you kind of missed out, and that's also directly correlated to deep sleep. So sorting out your kind of sleep hygiene is important, and then waking up and exposing yourself to to the sun. So whether you have a garden and you can go barefoot, or whether you can open the window, whatever it is, the sunlight is way stronger than any of the kind of artificial light, and it wakes up the body and kind of kickstarts our circadian rhythm. So you can kind of you need to regulate your whole day, where you get this kind of wake up call from the sunlight, and then kind of throughout the night, then you're winding down and so on. And there are herbs that can help with sleep. So some of those herbs, because sometimes we can't sleep because we're anxious, right? So anxiolytics, so herbs that reduce anxiety, like skullcap, and then also passion flower and so on, others that I mentioned before. They can be stronger herbs. Actually, one of the lovely ones is a Chinese date called jujube, and you can actually buy them. They're super tasty and sweet. They're different from the Middle Eastern days. But anyway, so that's kind of a natural sedative. There can be other ones, valerian in our culture, not suitable for every single person, but can work. Yeah, again, it's best to kind of pick a herb for the person, because like I said, herbs don't do just one thing, they'll do quite a few things. So I would pick herb which is a sedative for the person, and the herb might have characteristics, to support the liver and to improve gut function, and then other herbs will be sedative but support hormonal balance. And so out of the all sedative herbs, I'll pick the one that ticks the most boxes for that person.
I love the idea of that, because I know they come, like I said, you do tinctures, you do teas.
Yeah.
Do you do lotions as well? Are there other ways that you
Yeah, so it can be herbs can be used in so many different formulations. So tinctures was actually an American invention. So it's an alcohol-based solution, and it does act faster because alcohol is an excellent carrier. So when you're not digesting well, it sort of goes straight into the bloodstream, which is good. But obviously, alcohol is not for everyone. You can have teas if it's leaves. If it's roots, you need to either decoct, which means you need to boil for over 10 minutes, because it's harder to extract those active ingredients. So tincture would be better in that case. You can also at home make botanical vinegars. So, for example, I have this recipe for the vinegar called fire cider, and it's so excellent for kind of flu and all sorts of infections, which you basically macerate horseradish, onion, garlic, rosemary, ginger, and so on in apple cider vinegar. And then in 6 weeks, you strain and you have this incredible preparation in your kitchen, used with culinary herbs, which means you can't overdose. Anybody can make them. And it's also great for digestive system and so on, because it has additional benefits from apple cider vinegar. You can make glycerides, which is basically a sweet solution suitable for kids. It's better than syrup because obviously sugar, when you have a flu, it is a little bit counterintuitive in terms of promoting some inflammation. And so glycerin doesn't do that. So you can have herbal preparation based on the glycerin. You can make creams if you're foraging. So there are a lot of herbs kind of in the fields that can help you with all sorts of first aid situations. So there is yarrow that can stop the bleeding. It was actually used on the battlefields, even in the 20th century. during the First World War. And it can stop bleeding. You've got plantain, which is also good for cuts and burns and bee stings, things like that. And you basically can take a leaf, you can create a poultice. You need to kind of chew it a little bit to break down those juices and just apply to your skin en route.
There's two things that are really jumping out at me here. One, in terms of how you talk about using the different herbs and plants, that so many people, they have a supplement for their joint pain, a supplement for their cognitive function, a supplement for their hair, a supplement for something else. I don't like taking a lot of vitamins. I don't like drinking a liter full of, I don't like drinking my food either. That's just my personal style. I know it's easy for lots of other people. But again, this show is about showing people all the different options that are available to them. When you were talking about, well, depending on, yes, you might have a sleep issue, but you might also have this other issue. So I would choose this herb over that herb. It kind of makes me feel like I'm kind of reducing the shelf or, my bedside table of bottles and things. I love that idea. And then I also think it's really interesting all the different formats that you can deliver this in, because again, some people prefer to drink it, some people prefer to swallow it, some people prefer to have it in a tea, some people don't mind having a shot of something, some people would prefer a lotion or a candy, like a glycerin, like you said.
Yeah.
So you could also work with the individual to say, because consistency is, like with everything, is going to be important.
You do. And, compliance is a big thing. I've had patients that would tell me, oh, the herb's not working. And I'd ask them, well, how do you take them? Like, yeah, once a day. It's like, well, it was prescribed twice a day. And actually had my own experience with that because I'm quite sporadic at taking herbs. And when I have a certain issue, and at that time it was not going away, I was like, what's going on? My patients are getting better. I'm not. And then then I looked at how I was taking it. And once I kind of took a proper dose twice a day and so on, then it went away. Yes, you can put all herbs in one bottle, basically. So you just need to take one shot twice a day. Compliance is much, much better. You can also think about, okay, I'm going to use some herbs as spices in my culinary preparations. Then I'm going to have a cup of tea. Then I'm going to have this. But also, a great thing about herbs, if we talk, for example, about infections, they are actually very broad spectrum. So it almost doesn't matter if you have a viral infection or microbial or fungal. What herbs do, they activate your immune system and it then decides how to fight and what to fight. So first of all, in our culture we need to take all different pills for, the virus and the bacteria and the fungus and sometimes all three at once, well, or at least two at once, because oh, okay, you have a viral infection, but you might get a microbial. So I'm going to give you this antibiotic just in case. Da, da, da. You don't have that with herbs. You just take one herb and then, immune system is activated. And I have this preparation called Game Changer, which has loads of different kind of antimicrobial, antiviral herbs. And actually, my husband, when we travel, he doesn't leave a house without it. He literally turned the car around to pick it up when we forgot at home, because basically you take that preparation for pretty much anything. You have a flu, you take it. You have some food poisoning or bug in your stomach, you take it. You have a cut, you can apply it topically. So it's the best first aid because you just carry one bottle and it feeds all these different
Is that the
purposes.
one as well, like if you're traveling, like for jet lag? Is that the game changer too, or do you have a different one for that?
For jet lag is slightly different. There's probably adaptogenic mix called Kickstarter.
Kickstarter. Okay.
Yeah,
Game changer, Kickstarter.
Kickstarter.
They
Yeah,
both sound really good. I want to go through all the lists because I know you can also help with vaginal health,
yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Cognitive function, joint. I mean, there's so many things. And we're going to leave all the ways to contact Jenya in the notes if you want to meet with her for I think you offer a 15-minute consultation.
Yeah,
And
just it's like a complimentary call. just to find out what's going on, and sometimes give very quick piece of advice. Sometimes very simple tweaks can make a lot of difference, or at least give person an idea of what needs to be.
How
um
plants can even help them,
yeah.
right? How that can work into their routine. Many women listening might already be on HRT or may not be able to use HRT. I'd like to talk about how herbs fit into that picture. Using herbal medicine alongside HRT, is it safe? Is it not safe?
Yeah, so with regards to HRT, if it solved all of their issues with dryness, with brain fog, with energy, hot flashes, so on, then they might not need herbs, and that's totally fine. Obviously you wouldn't give phytoestrogens or anything like that, because they're already on a form of estrogen. So you can still use herbs if they have other health issues or imbalances, and need support. Some women can't use, and I often, when women are considering HRT, I often suggest to do a hormone test. So the one that looks at estrogen metabolites. So I run Dutch tests. It's an American company which does very advanced, very detailed kind of hormonal pathways, and to look at whether they're prone genetically or epigenetically to produce those more toxic estrogens. And that's an important information to know whether you decide when you're deciding whether to go on HRT or not. Because you can actually have return of, sort of, for example, women who have endometriosis and other estrogen dominant conditions. Once they go through menopause and they go on HRT, all of those come back because they're going to be in that estrogen dominant state again because of the way their liver works.
So the plants could be a gentler
Yeah, yes.
way
So,
to.
so if they have those issues, I would say it's quite important to consider plant world and natural support. Yeah, and basically we can deal with all of those symptoms, but just looking at the body as a whole and looking at their lifestyles and stress levels and diets and things like that, that's kind of more important than kind of plugging a certain symptom.
Yes, yeah, and I mean, I think there's just some overall wellness too, like,
Yeah.
everybody might need a bottle of your game changer
Yeah,
at the end
exactly.
of this. Natural support, like, do you for women who can't take HRT, it sounds like this
Yeah,
is a
that's the way to go.
safe, option for them.
Exactly.
Do you also need to be careful if people are on any medications? So, like, I take thyroxine because I have
Yeah.
Hashimoto's.
Yeah.
Do you have to be careful with some and also, sorry, even if you are on HRT, you would have to be careful if you started adding like, don't just go do it blind,
Yeah,
basically.
yes. So you'd always need to check for interactions
Yeah,
for sure.
and I think that's important because there's also an
Yeah,
issue
there's
with
additive
self-supplementing.
effect, or they can sometimes. Well, I don't think herbs are strong enough to be honest to cancel the effects of medication. So, for example, St. John's Wort is banned with any medication because it sort of speeds up the clearance of pharmaceutical medication. Um, but in reality, they're not that strong. And also there are ways, for example, take them sufficient number of hours apart and things like that. Yeah, but obviously we follow this guidelines.
Oh, absolutely. But I think the message that I'm taking away from this is that herbs are very powerful, but like any medicine, that they should be used with respect and knowledge, and not everybody can come and see a Jenya, but just be aware
Yeah.
and be educated.
So I'm not a fan of self-prescribing, especially when it comes to hormonal imbalances. I'm a fan of people embracing herbs, and always put some stuff on my Instagram where people can forage and make a culinary recipe from those herbs, or just using in general culinary herbs to improve nutritional value of their food. Or making this immune boosting vinegar, things like that. So I'm a fan of people just using herbs as medicine in their diets.
Can
But
we
when
put
you have
that
an imbalance, it can be a bit more difficult to
I
basics.
feel like I really want that recipe for that vinegar.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll put it in the show notes.
Let's do
Are
it.
you happy to share?
Yeah,
Are you
yeah.
happy to share that one, the one that
I
everybody
have
can?
a video on it you
Oh,
can
great,
attach.
great. We can put that in. Amazing. What I'm loving about this conversation is that it's greater than just the symptom
Yeah.
in terms of how you approach it. It gets to the core of, why we're feeling anxious, or like there's the broader questions looking at the whole body, like we talked about. We talk about mood a lot when we
Mhm.
talk about menopause, but I'd like to talk about emotions. And you
Yeah.
touched on it at the beginning a little bit when you described your consultation with people. And I'm not talking about when women are emotional because their hormones are fluctuating. I'm in naturopathy, I believe the body and the mind are viewed as kind of one integrated system. And I'm really interested in how emotions show up as physical
Yeah.
symptoms.
So, I find that a lot in people who have, for example, autoimmune conditions, that are linked to emotions of "I'm not good enough, I don't deserve," and that's like a panacea in our society, right? So many people are walking around thinking I'm not good enough. We have that internal judgment that started all the way back in the childhood. And if they think that they can develop an autoimmune disease where the body starts attacking itself because you think you don't deserve to be well, you can end up in a bad relationship or with a criticizing boss. So it can be other areas in life, doesn't need to be always physical, but it can manifest in so many ways. And when we talk about disease, it will be also reflected in their ability to heal, because if they think they don't deserve to be well, they also will have problem with complying, and they might not they come back for one consultation because they so desperately need help, but they actually don't believe that they're worthy of help, and then they'll kind of fall off the cliff again. So basically, without going back to that time and reframing the brain and helping them understand that they are unique and amazing and they're absolutely worthy of love, and they have this infinite support from the universe and from their higher self and all that. So once you kind of reframe the way the person thinks and feels, that's sometimes is the only way to help those people, because that's such a big impediment to healing. And when I see that, I give a little bit of support to the physical body, but then I just focus on that aspect because it's just too big to ignore. And to be honest, with most chronic conditions, actually, people often cite some non-physical thing like going through divorce or losing a loved one and things like that that kick-started that physical cascade of things. So in order to heal fundamentally, you actually absolutely need to look at that important trigger and incorporate it and clear that trauma and reframe the mind so that it integrates it as either something positive or getting a closure and just stop that torment.
Wow, that's very powerful. I feel that's an episode all so it's probably another
So
show, actually.
fascinating.
It's fascinating. You also you were talking about autoimmune disease. I was reading that, with menopause, we always talk about the ovaries and
Yeah,
obviously the source of our sex hormones. But I want to talk about the adrenals because, I mean, we've talked about
yeah,
stress a little bit as well, but I read somewhere that adrenals can be described as the body's backup ovaries. And, as our hormones decline, the adrenals, and you can tell me if this is wrong, but the adrenals can step in to help pick up some slack. But if you're already depleted, if you've been running on stress for too many years, then, they're not going to help do that job properly. So can you talk about the adrenal connection a little bit and how herbs and adaptogens can help? I mean, because we've been talking about energy boosting.
yeah. Sure. So, when our ovaries stop producing estrogen and progesterone, they actually continue to produce some androgens, which also our adrenals produce. But when they stop producing key reproductive hormones, it's taken over by actually a lot of it's taken over by adipose tissue. So we should never be too skinny. When people like complain about, some of the body fat, it's actually the way to replenish some estrogen when you're in menopause.
Yes, it's your body doing
So
you a favor, right? It's actually
exactly,
doing you a favor.
exactly.
Yes.
So, but that happens with the help of adrenals that produce the androgens that are then converted into estrogens with the help of aromatization, and that happens in our fatty tissue. So basically, they play part in estrogen production, and maybe that's why they're called
The backup ovaries. The backup.
exactly.
But
Yes.
I think it's just the reason I asked the question and was curious about it was because I really believe in a proactive um, approach to managing your hormones and hormone shifts from a young age, even, but that if you start doing things earlier. I feel like menopause has, historically was this thing that it happened to you and then somebody said like, here's a secret WhatsApp group that you can come join. Nobody talked about it the way they are today. And knowing what we know now, if women can start earlier and in whichever format they wish to do it, whether it's naturopathy or herbal or with supplements and diet, they can do so many things to help prepare their body so that it can thrive during this period and not see it as a moment of decline.
Exactly. It's one of the most important investments into your health that you can make is really, so if we're talking perimenopause, for example, investing into sorting out all of your chronic conditions early on to be able to thrive through menopause, because the body just doesn't have enough resource to deal with hormonal change and the chronic conditions, all different things. So they might fall off the cliff. And also, obviously all of the various symptoms of menopause itself, they will be massively aggravated by lifestyle factors like stress and sleep and alcohol and all that. So sorting that out earlier on would really help to sail through menopause. And then in the same way, so sorting things in your 30s will help you sail through perimenopause, right? Which can
Absolutely.
be also quite uncomfortable for some women with heavy bleeding and a few other things.
Yeah. Um, for anyone listening and thinking like, where do I even start if I was interested in exploring, herbal medicine earlier, what advice would you give them? Obviously
Um,
go to Cloud 12, but
yes, obviously. So yeah, just looking at those various pillars of health. Yeah,
the sleep,
how
the
is your
nutrition.
diet? Do you have a lot of processed foods in your diet? Are you eating enough proteins, fiber, all of that? Like, there's some obvious things you can sort, right? If you're not if you're not going to bed at 10 and you wake up tired, that's an issue, and that's kind of quite easy to fix without going to special. So once you've taken care of all of these obvious things that are easy to fix on your own and problems still persist, then go to specialist. But actually, even things like water intake, correct water intake can completely turn around your well-being, and people don't know how to drink water,
What
right?
what do you recommend? How much water do you
So,
recommend?
I do recommend up to 2 liters, or let's say 2 liters at least, and never drinking with food. The best way is to drink approximately half an hour before eating. So if you do about 7 hours, so 2 big cups 3 times a day before your 3 main meals. You can also, if you skipped or whatever, forgotten, you can also do 2 hours after a meal, but roughly kind of 3 times a day. And then, because if you don't do that, you will get thirsty during the meal, and then you'll be like, "No, I have to have a little drink," and then you're diluting digestive juices, and you're not metabolizing your
Is
foods
that
well,
why you
and
say don't drink? It's because you
yeah.
oh,
And
interesting.
obviously, we go out and we need to enjoy life. It's important to remember to enjoy life. So I am sort of anti harsh diets and harsh protocols and things like that. And when I say give up alcohol, I only mean like short period of time. You can introduce it back.
Yeah. If
But
you're
menopause
suffering,
is-
it's
y-
one thing you might
yeah.
want to remove. That's all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So you still need to enjoy your food and your life and so on. But with water, and also it's important to absorb it, right? So you can mix it with electrolytes or have just like a crystal of salt after those 2 cups. If you can, stretch it a little bit so you don't just kind of gulp it in one go. But however, also I have to say, just drink water, right? If you've
Just remind
forgotten,
everybody.
yeah,
Yes.
just drink like with meal, whatever.
Yeah.
Just drink it. It's important that it's clean. So I've have so many different water technologies at home. Like the basic is reverse osmosis. I think everybody should take care of it. I actually just made a recent post on that, on the stuff which is in our tap water, and I focused on the UK. It's extraordinary. And speaking of hormonal health, we have it all. We have like xenoestrogens, we have OCP, the contraceptive pill. It's absolutely in our water supply. So all of these hormonal disruptors, antibiotics,
Oh my God. If you're not watching,
pesticides.
you should see my
Yeah,
face right now.
so please just never say yes to tap water. When people in the restaurant say tap is okay, literally my inside cringes.
Oh my
I'm
God,
so
that's
tempted
me,
to say
Jenya.
something. Please
Only because I
don't.
didn't want to pay for it.
No,
I was
no,
like, just
it's
water. It's not okay.
yeah,
What?
it's not okay. And I've tested it. I haven't done like a precise scientific, but there's a way to kind of derive a little bit the level of impurities in the water in London. Then I tested in Switzerland and this and that. So we do have a problem.
Is the water in
Unfortunately,
Switzerland better? It is, isn't it?
it is
It
better.
is
Even
better.
in the toilet in a Zurich airport,
Oh God.
it's way
Oh
cleaner.
my God.
In the tap, not in a.
Oh my God. Okay, again, another episode where we need to
water is
sort of.
and I'm a big fan of hydrogen water as well. Yeah, there's so many ways you can improve quality of your water. You can do vortex to improve the structure. You can actually this one is super good straight away. When you drink your water contains energy. There are lots of studies where people were swearing at water or sending love, things like that, change the structure. So just send this love and good energy and vitality and just take it all into your body, because it will get assimilated and change the structure of the water. And that energy will absolutely transform the quality of your water. So drink with love and gratitude and whatever else you want to add into your body.
So I'm holding my cup. We're both holding our cups
Mm.
in our hands. We just have cups of water. I don't know if it's tap water or not. I don't
Oh
know.
my God. No,
Oh my
it
God, I
doesn't
am
taste like one.
Okay. But
Should have asked.
but
I trusted you.
do I have to say it or just think it, or do you say it to the? Would you
No,
say it
you
into the
don't
water? Or
need
you
to say, just think it.
drink it, or
So
drink or think with
thoughts
love
are
and
very
gratitude,
material.
or whatever you might need that day.
Absolutely. The Chinese saying, where attention goes, energy flows. So you can do that by also just having the intention in the morning of vitality, success, love, and so on. Well, without drinking water. Conversely, if we have a fight with you now and we're going to shout at each other and stuff, we shouldn't drink that water. We should throw it and refill, because it will contain that energy.
Well, every morning I start my morning with warm water and lemon.
Yeah.
But
Better with a
I'm
straw.
going to
Yeah.
add this in. I'm going to have some kind of an intention or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Oh, I love
And
this
crystal of
idea.
salt.
So beautiful. So beautiful. Jenya, the final question we ask all of our
Yeah.
guests. I could talk to you forever. Knowing what we know now about the power of herbal medicine to support your menopause journey, what would you tell our 35-year-old listener?
So for the 35-year-old listener, I have one advice. So hopefully we're talking about women, right?
Of course.
Have your periods when you can. It's so important. So first of all, it's a massive, massive barometer of health for a woman. We can understand so many things about our health by just analyzing our period. And also having periods have massive benefits for the body. So if you can avoid oral contraceptives and other ways that switch off your period, please do and just have your periods.
I heard, actually, we were both at the Health Optimization Summit,
Yeah.
and Elisa VT, who was the founder of the MyFlow app, she said your period is like a free report card every month, and it tells you so much about your health.
It does.
One color is too much estrogen, another color too much progesterone, another color not enough estrogen. So that's a great
Yeah.
message. What would you tell our 45-year-old listener?
So for the 45-year-olds, I would say it's one of the most important times in your life to take care of your health. So learn about all of different factors that affect your journey in perimenopause, menopause. Sort out any chronic conditions. Just boost your health because that will dramatically influence the experience for you for the next, I'd say 50, 60 years of your life. Let's be positive.
And what would you tell our 55-year-old listener?
So 55, just embrace this. So 55s, they probably have gone through menopause, not all, but they would have. And just embrace this time as the time of wisdom, as the time when you're free from some duties and from uh, some preconceptions about who you are and what you should look like and all that, and just focus on and get excited about the life ahead of you, because you can come into your power, you can start a business, you can learn a new thing, you can be so empowered and enjoy that stage of your life, and you should.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jenya. Thank you so much for being part of the MenoPositive community. It has been so nice talking to you. I have learned so much. Thank you.
So glad to be here, and thank you so much for this conversation. I also enjoyed it greatly. You're an incredible host. You are on your mission, and I know that you came to this world to do exactly that.
Thank you. And for everyone listening, the more you tune into your body, the wiser and stronger your body will become. And drink more water, but not tap water. We'll see you next time. Jenya, I bake for all of my guests.
Oh wow!
I hope I made granola for you.
Oh, that's amazing.
So
Thank
maybe for
you.
breakfast. I don't know if you
Yeah,
enjoy it.
absolutely.
There's some cinnamon in there and some ginger and
Oh,
something for you to
thank
take home.
you.
I hope you enjoy
Thank you.
it.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
Oh gosh, that was amazing. Thank
Oh,
you.
I really, you're such a good host. You really following your mission in this life.
Oh, thank you
Yeah,
so
you're so
much.
good at that.
I love it. I love learning. Like I love learning all of it. And it brings me so much joy, like to share this with people. It's like, how can we just let more people know about these things?
Yeah, such a noble and important mission, because we are sort of a small voice in the sea of like pharma and
Yeah,
all of this
negativity.
mainstream narrative. So it's so important to come together and amplify our voice, because the world really needs that
Yeah,
knowledge.
absolutely. Listen, I know you do events at your place. I've got a number of things where people are asking me to curate
Yeah.
panels and stuff. I would love anyway, when the next one comes up,
Yeah,
I'll reach out to you if
sure,
you're
sure. I'm
free.
happy I
Uh,
always, obviously, it's a way for me to also spread the word about the club,
yes.
and we'll be more than happy. You don't need to come next week, by the way, because it's if like you're absolutely welcome, but
Yeah, yeah. No, no,
it'd be
thank
more of the same thing. But yeah,
Yeah, yeah. No, no, no. I love it.
so
I know
yeah,
somebody else is doing
so
something. I'm helping a friend move. The only thing is on
it's also
Tuesday.
three's
Yours isn't
preview.
yours isn't Tuesday, is it?
No, it's
Oh,
Wednesday.
Wednesday's perfect.
Yeah.
Tuesday, I'm
So
taking my daughter to a concert.
oh, nice.
But no, no, that's perfect. That's
Okay.
amazing.
Okay.
I know
Great.
another friend who's a longevity doctor. It's obviously a very busy month for everybody with
Yes.
menopause awareness. But I've got some things, like I've got something in November. I'm trying to do a series also with like some different private members clubs and
Yeah.
things like that. Just talking about hormone shifts and how to manage them in different ways. And I just think you talk about it so beautifully. I mean, I don't know how you went from that career. I mean, when did you leave your finance career?
So that was maybe 15 years ago.
Okay.
But at first I was doing it kind of in parallel. I was studying and
Okay.
but it's crazy. So my poor husband, I have so much kind of love for him because he allows me to disappear like weekends, endless weekends and everything while I'm still 15 years.
Yeah.
So we started dating. I met him, I was like 42.
Yeah.
And he'd come from Milan, it was long distance. So he'd come and he'll sit in my college and he'll meet me for lunch. And then he'll meet me, I was working in finance and studying on
Yeah.
weekends.
Oh my God.
And it's still going on. Although now instead of doing one diploma, I'm usually doing two at the same time.
Oh my, because you said you're doing Chinese
So, yeah,
medicine right now.
Chinese medicine. So some weekends I'm like just non-existent. I'm
But
on
this is
my Zoom.
obviously like your purpose as well. So it's like
Yeah,
you wouldn't
yeah.
put that
And
much time into it if you didn't love it or feel like it was something like within
yeah, I
you.
just can't stop. I know, like, when I first got exposed to herbs, something in my body shifted. So it's almost
Yeah.
like I knew them from past lives or something.
Oh
I don't know what it
wow.
was, but because I grew up in a Soviet family who all popped pills, and there was like half of Russia was super Soviet and
Mm.
completely departed from spirituality, all of that, and then another half which is still continuing. They were still foraging and they kind of kept in touch,
Mhm.
but my family wasn't like that. But then when I started sort of absorbing this knowledge, I sort of knew that like my body was reacting to it. It was
Yeah.
somewhere in my DNA or past
Yeah.
lives or what have you. So yeah, there's
Amazing.
definitely something, because plants just make me just transform me. When I look at them, when I think about them, there's just something
Well,
happening
there's
in
I'm
my
just I mean,
body.
obviously also very impressive that you were in your mind obviously works in a very um special way to do what you did in finance
Yeah,
is
so I also have a
very
scientific brain.
I was
So
gonna say, like, to me, you're like a beautiful mind. Like, you can see,
yeah,
like, everything's kind of moving around.
I'd look at research, but that also makes me look at causes and why and
Yes.
things like that, not just like taking it, okay, that's that.
Yes. Yeah.
So which helps, because sometimes you also have all these kind of naysayers that say, oh, this is rubbish and things
Yeah.
like that. And then you have to be a bit more scientific with them.
Yeah.
So you have to
And
talk studies and whatever.
but I think that's so smart because my friend Rob Ray, who does breath work,
Yeah.
was saying